Hello. In my previous two videos exploring the hidden language of children's paintings and drawings, I've been looking at the ways of emotionally assessing your child in terms of the colour preferences. This is because a child's preference for a particular colour, say yellow or red or black, offers a reliable guide as to how they're feeling. Research has also shown it's possible one can make important assessments of emotions using drawings and sketches alone. One of the most remarkable findings to emerge from studies into the relationship between drawings and emotions was a simple 2-second test that, it was claimed, would provide a guide as to the child's psychological health. All you had to do was to ask the child to draw a circle and note a direction, whether clockwise or anti-clockwise, in which it was drawn. Now, this finding arose from a study conducted in America by Professor Theodore Gau, an eminent US psychologist and president at the time of the American Psychological Association. In his study, he asked over 100 American children, aged around 9 in every case, to draw circles. As they did so, he noted the direction in which it was drawn. He then carefully monitored each child's emotional health over the next 15 years. Now, Professor Gau reported that of the children who had drawn their circles in an anti-clockwise direction, only 2% of them ever experienced any major emotional problems. However, among the group who had drawn their circles in a clockwise direction, this figure rose to 22%. Emotional problems of a less serious nature were also more likely to occur in the remaining 78% of the clockwise group than in the 98% of the anti-clockwise group. So valuable did Professor Gau consider this simple drawing assessment that he used it regularly in his psychological practice, as did other psychologists. Now, although the exact mechanism linking the direction of drawing and emotional health have yet to be fully understood, Professor Gau believed that the child's preferred movement was linked to his or her brain function. Now, as is widely known, I think, the human brain consists of 2 hemispheres, and these are only partly separated by a deep cleft. In most people, the left hemisphere, which controls movements on the right side of the body, is dominant. This hemisphere is concerned with logical reasoning, language, and the manipulation of symbols. The right hemisphere, controlling movements on the left side of the body, is less involved with logical operations than with creativity, fantasy, and the imagination. Now, subsequent research has shown that this sharp division is one of the myths of brain science. There is no actual sharp division, although certainly language centres are on the left side of the brain, and the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain the right side of the body. A child who draws circles in an anti-clockwise direction does so because his left hemisphere is dominant. A clockwise movement, Gau claimed, suggests that the right hemisphere is dominant, and this could be linked to an imbalance in the child's brain. Now, it doesn't matter whether the child is right or left-handed, and the test is only valid, according to Professor Gau, when applied to children aged 6 or older, since below this age the functions of the hemispheres have not fully developed, at least not to a point where spontaneous drawing movements have any significance. A second and slightly more complex circle drawing test, which he also pioneered, is known as the talk test. Now, like the first assessment, this only takes a moment or two to complete, yet it can provide valuable results. You start by drawing 3 X's on a sheet of plain paper, as I'm showing you here. Now, don't have to worry if they're not exactly the same size or the same distance apart as those in the illustrations. Their purpose is merely to provide the child with 3 marks around which to draw. Now ask the child to draw a circle around each X in turn and note the direction, clockwise or anti-clockwise, which the child chooses. For the second part of the assessment, the child is asked to make a drawing exactly like this one. As each of the circles is drawn, you must observe the direction of movement, clockwise or anti-clockwise. Now, Blau believes that even if only one of these circles is drawn clockwise, the child is somewhat more vulnerable to emotional problems, at least more vulnerable than most children. Before I leave this research, I must emphasize 2 points. The fact the child drew every single circle using anti-clockwise movement does not offer any guarantee that he or she will never experience any emotional problems. Nor am I saying that children who produce clockwise circles will inevitably experience emotional difficulties. Remember that the majority of children in Professor Blau's study, no matter how they drew their circles, had no serious problems with their emotions during the many years his study lasted, the 15 years he studied them. The second point to make clear is that since Blau published his report in 1977, many psychologists have refuted his findings and suggested other factors are involved in how children of all ages draw a circle. These include the country in which they were born, their cultural background, and their education. In a study of over 10,000 circles drawn in 148 countries, Google found a majority of Americans tended to draw circles counterclockwise. Of the nearly 50,000 circles drawn in the US, 86% were anti-clockwise. So too were circles drawn by British, French, German, Czech, Australian, Finnish, Vietnamese and Filipino youngsters. The only exceptions were Japanese and Taiwanese children, and they tended to draw circles in a clockwise direction. So how can we explain these differences? Well, a likely explanation for this is the way they are taught to write their language. Handwriting, it seems, has a profound effect in the way children draw abstract shapes, and this continues into adulthood. So the takeaway message is that while the 2-second test and the talk test are certainly intriguing and have been widely used, they are certainly never to be taken as conclusive evidence about a child's emotional status. You should also bear in mind that the older a child is, the more practiced with handwriting they're likely to be, and so the less likely is that Blau's theory will be reliable. If you'd like to learn more about what children's drawings and paintings reveal about their emotions, their IQ and their personality, then I suggest you read our book, Your Child's Drawings, Their Hidden Meaning. As I said earlier, this was a book I co-authored with the American psychologist Dr. James Green, a man who specializes in what are called psychometrics, that's measuring how people are feeling and thinking and behaving. The 200-page long paperback includes numerous drawings and 9 color plates showing many of the images which I'm presenting in these videos. A copy costs £7.50, inclusive of postage and packing in the UK, and I'm perfectly willing to mail it overseas, although of course the postage costs will be somewhat higher. If you'd like to find out what it's going to cost, then just email me on the address I give you at the end of this video. In my next video, I'll be explaining how a child's drawings can be used to detect anxiety, fearful feelings a child may be unable to express in words. If you would like to keep up to date with the work of hypnotherapist Dan and myself, then please do subscribe. By doing so, you'll never miss any of our thoughts and strategies for changing your life by changing your mind.